There is a question as to whether or not Pokemon TCG Pocket has enough strategic depth to keep people around and keep people playing. Hi, Jake, your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw, let's get into it. Is there enough going on in this game to keep people hooked, or are they going to collect a few cards and then walk away? No question, with the global launch coming up, we're going to see exactly what the community thinks of this game. And I think at first, this game looks very simple. In fact, I feel like Pokemon TCG Pocket is kind of like an iceberg. Once you start playing more and more, you see how the game is a lot deeper than you expected. At first, of course, you just sort of see it's basic. You have 20 cards in your deck. You have no energy. It applies every turn. There's no question that there's going to be less strategic depth here than you would find in something like the full TCG release. And at first, you see a few decks and you think, well, those are the decks, right? Mewtwo EX, that's a deck. Charizard, that's a deck. Blastoise, Venusaur, etc. There's like 5 decks at first, right? That's what you think when you first start playing the game. And I think right away, that's probably where a lot of people are going to land until they start playing more and you start seeing other things thrown at you. When you first start and you're just building up your decks, you're kind of playing with whatever you can get your hands on in that moment. Also, if you are just starting this, by the way, you might want to consider resetting your account. I have a video about that on my channel. Just a quick aside in case there's something specific you are looking for. But when you start, you're building whatever deck you can. And then the more you play, even over the course of maybe a week or two, you're gonna have a lot of different options as to what you can put in your decks. And at first it's gonna seem like, well, if I have Moltres and I can power up Charizard, I'm going to win my games. And at first that seems right. Or it feels like if I have Mewtwo EX and I can power it up and I've got Gardevoir on my bench, I'm going to win games. Now, don't get me wrong, these are good decks, but these are the top of that iceberg, the part that's sticking out of the water, if you will. The rest of the game has a lot going on with it that people are still figuring out. Right when this game dropped, people had very hard opinions on what the meta was, which is always so funny to me. I love talking about the meta, tier lists, and all this kind of stuff, but people get like hard locked into what is the best thing in the game right away. And I think we found a lot of things early that ended up being very good, and a lot of things that were sneakily better than expected. Then you start having people really start to build some creative decks and counter a lot of what is normally seen. And that's when the iceberg that is underwater starts to kind of show itself. Which, by the way, I don't know exactly, this metaphor, the iceberg, probably has to go away at some point because the rest of the iceberg is going to pop up. But you get it. We start to find out there's more going on with the game. That is the end of our iceberg talk. You see, it was right at the start where it felt like Pikachu EX, Mewtwo EX, which again are great decks, are the thing, and then all of a sudden people discovered Dragonite. Dragonite was all the rage. If you could power up Dragonite, that would be massive. Then people started to realize, oh, you can use Koga Wheezing to give yourself a wall, power Dragonite on the bench, not use any dark energy. Like, that's a cool strategy. And then other people started to realize, oh wait, this whole Pidgeot thing is actually really cool. I can combo it with Arbok and I can set up some really exciting things. And then other people started to go, I can actually play only Articuno in my deck and I can Misty Flip and have a ridiculous hand with 18 trainer cards and 2 Articunos. And the strategy started to develop more and more and more. And then people naturally started to once again say that they had figured out the meta, and things would present itself to counter that pretty hard. Let me give you an example. One thing that I've noticed is the meta feels like it has a lot of decks that like to ramp up. It has a lot of things that want to get to that, you know, stage 2 Venusaur or something like that. They want to get really, really powerful, but it takes a few turns to get that online. So they have a lot of cards in their decks set up to do that. You've got the Lilligant Venusaur, you've got Moltres Charizard, you've got Gardevoir Mewtwo, etc. And then I've noticed that a lot of decks that are super aggressive early are actually really powerful into these, because unless they get perfect draws on the other side, which, let's face it, sometimes the heart of the cards is with your opponents, unless they get those perfect draws on the other side, you actually can just put so much pressure on them with basic things like Rapidash and Farfetch'd that they're not even able to get their deck set up. There are also a lot of decks that you don't even think to try at first. You don't realize how good Executor is going to be. You don't realize how good Marowak is going to be. You don't realize how good it is to have something like Machamp that gets to attack on every single turn and just ramps up naturally as it goes. And then there are a lot of strategies that I feel like have not been explored in a big way yet. You know, can anyone make a really great Brock deck? What is going on with Misty? Will that be changed? I think there is a lot that we are not even scratching the surface of yet. My thought here is, and I would love to hear from you if you've been playing for a while, when you first start playing, it's going to seem pretty dang basic. It actually kind of feels like, okay, very fun. The battles are quick and engaging, but at first you just go, oh yeah, if I have this deck, I'm just going to start winning over and over again. And then the more you start playing, the more you start seeing the different strategies available, the more you start noticing what the sort of standard meta looks like, and you try to buck that trend with fossil decks, and you try to get really aggressive, and you try to ramp up your cards in different ways, or you try to figure out how to use normal Pokemon in your deck as kind of a weird way to put in Wigglytuff EX and things like that. The more and more you play, the more you start to realize that, yeah, you are only seeing the tip of the iceberg here. No, I'm not here to tell you this is the most in-depth game in the world. This game is meant to be a fast-paced TCG experience that is especially good for people who have maybe tried TCG a few times or is not insanely familiar with TCG and wants a good in towards it. I can tell that Pokemon's strategy with this was very specific. They want something that's going to be exciting, easy to get into, great for newer players and people who understand TCG already, and something that is a great gateway to people actually picking up a pack of cards out there. Now, if they never want to do this, that's fine, because they're printing digital money right now in Pocket, which could be absolutely massive for them. But they want to keep the two feeling separate. They want to have the most complex experience, the most strategic experience reserved for their, you know, paper printed trading card game, while they want a fast but deceptively deep strategic experience on Pocket. And once the ranked mode opens up for this game, and once everyone gets their hands on it, I'm interested to see how quickly people start to realize that there's actually a lot more going on with this game than they see at first brush. Because right away, it just seems like, man, if I had Pikachu EX, I'd be winning these games. But as it starts to go on, you realize, well, Pikachu EX is still pretty good. But you get what I'm saying. I would love to hear your opinion in the comments. Do you think there is enough going on with this game, or are people gonna hop off pretty fast? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As always, I love you. I'll see you all next time. We did it.